Have you ever felt like the more effort you put into a relationship, the less you're appreciated? Like you're texting first, planning everything, giving 110%, and somehow he's giving less and less. What if I told you that your power isn't in doing more, it's in doing less? I know it sounds counterintuitive. We've been conditioned to believe that love is earned through effort, that if we just love harder, give more, prove our worth, then he'll finally see us, choose us, love us. But here's the truth. Men don't fall in love because you do everything for them. They fall in love because they have space to feel something for you. In this video, I'm revealing the psychological reason why doing less is not lazy. It's magnetic. It's not playing games. It's activating your feminine energy in the most powerful way. Because doing less doesn't mean you don't care. It means you know your value and you're not trying to hustle for love that should flow naturally. When you pull back, you're not losing him. You're giving him room to lean in. When you stop chasing, you're not letting go. You're inviting him to step up. So if you're tired of feeling like you're always the one trying, this is the mindset shift that will change everything. Grab your tea, take a breath, and let's redefine what it means to be irresistible by doing less and receiving more. Because queens don't chase, they attract. From a very young age, women are taught that love is something they must earn. Whether it's fairy tales, teen dramas, or even adult romance stories. The narrative is clear. The woman who tries the hardest, gives endlessly, proves her loyalty, and sacrifices the most, gets the guy. But what if that story, the one so many of us have internalized, is actually doing more harm than good? Society has glorified self-sacrifice in women. We've been praised for being ride or die, for waiting patiently while he figures things out, for being the fixer, the forgiver, the emotional caretaker. And somewhere along the way, many women began to believe that over-efforting equals value, that the more they do, the more worthy of love they become. But here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. Love that must be earned through over-functioning isn't love. It's emotional labor. Men don't fall in love because you bend over backward. In fact, often, the more you overgive, the more you subconsciously teach him to undergive. Why? Because you've set the emotional tone of the relationship. You do more, so he does less. And yet you still hope he'll wake up one day and appreciate. But people don't value what they didn't have to earn. That's just human psychology. The lie society tells is that your effort equals love. But real lasting love doesn't come from performance. It comes from presence. It comes from energy, from your boundaries, your mystery, your ability to hold your own without needing to prove your worth every 5 minutes. And when you embrace that, something amazing happens. Men start showing up without you pushing. Because what truly draws a man in isn't how much you do for him. It's how you make him feel about himself when he's around you. And that only happens when you're not too busy managing the whole relationship alone. This isn't about being passive. It's about choosing your peace over constant pursuit. You don't need to overextend to be loved. You need to be centered. That's where your real power lives. Male desire isn't as random or purely physical as it's often portrayed. While attraction might start with looks, it never stays there. Not if we're talking about real emotional investment. What men desire at a deep psychological level is connection that feels earned, pursuit that feels purposeful, and mystery that keeps them engaged. And the key to triggering this kind of desire isn't in doing more, it's in knowing when to pull back. Psychologically, men are wired to seek challenge and meaning in the things they pursue. When something comes too easily, especially emotionally, their brain subconsciously devalues it. Not because they're trying to be disrespectful, but because of how their reward systems work. Dopamine, the brain's motivation and pleasure chemical, spikes during the chase, not when the goal is simply handed to them. So when a woman constantly initiates, over-explains, over-texts, or gives more than she's receiving, she unknowingly short-circuits that process. There's no anticipation, no space to wonder, no emotional edge. She becomes predictable. And in the early stages of romantic bonding, predictability isn't comforting, it's dull. Men become emotionally invested when they feel uncertain, but intrigued. When there's enough space for their own desire to rise, not when they're being emotionally spoon-fed connection. Here's what's even more powerful. Men desire what reflects back their best self. If a woman holds herself with grace, self-respect, and calm confidence, a man subconsciously associates her presence with feeling grounded and inspired. But if she overreaches or constantly seeks reassurance, he doesn't feel needed, he feels smothered. He's not falling for her, he's reacting to her emotional urgency. That's why doing less in the right way actually heightens male desire. It invites him to take the lead. It creates a sense of emotional polarity. Masculine pursuit meets feminine receptivity. Not because you're playing games, but because you're creating the psychological conditions for genuine desire to grow. Attraction isn't just about looks or chemistry. It's about emotional pacing, space, and energy. When you stop doing everything and instead hold space, you're not just desirable, you're unforgettable. There's a massive difference between giving from a place of confidence and overgiving from a place of fear. One radiates self-worth. The other leaks insecurity. Most women don't even realize when they cross that line, because society has conditioned them to believe that being good enough means being endlessly available, helpful, self-sacrificing. But here's the truth. Overgiving is not love. It's a trauma response. When a woman constantly gives, fixes, or initiates without being met halfway, it usually comes from a place of wanting to be chosen, not a place of knowing she already is the prize. It might feel like you're being generous, but underneath it is usually anxiety. If I don't give enough, will he lose interest? Will he pull away? That fear leads to emotional overfunctioning, giving more than you're receiving, filling in his gaps, compensating for his lack of effort. But here's what most women don't realize. A high-value woman doesn't chase energy. She attracts it. She doesn't give to earn love. She gives when it feels aligned and reciprocal. She knows that real connection doesn't come from proving her worth, but from embodying it. And because she knows her value, she doesn't feel guilty for receiving. In fact, she knows how to receive with grace, whether that's attention, effort, consistency, or affection. A man can feel this difference instantly. Overgiving energy feels anxious. High-value energy feels calm and magnetic. Overgiving says, please don't leave. High-value energy says, you're lucky to be here. One makes a man feel responsible for your emotional safety. The other makes him want to step up and invest. The shift happens when you stop asking, how can I make him stay? And start asking, does this even feel good to me? That's the high-value mindset. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about holding standard. When you give from a full cup, you attract a man who doesn't want to take. He wants to give too. Doing less isn't withdrawal. It's elevation. It's choosing to be a woman who knows that love isn't earned by effort. It's magnetized by self-respect. Silence is uncomfortable for many women in relationships, not because they don't value peace, but because they've been trained to fill every gap. If there's a pause in communication, they rush to fix it. If he pulls back emotionally, they lean in harder. But here's what no one tells you. The space you're so afraid of is the very thing that builds attraction. There's a quiet strength in doing nothing, in not replying right away, in not chasing clarity when someone goes cold, in not trying to force closeness. That silence, that space, it's not a void, it's a mirror. It reflects your self-respect, your emotional maturity, and your ability to sit with the unknown. And that energy, men feel it deeply. A man doesn't feel the weight of your presence when you're always available. He feels it when you're not, when your absence creates contrast. That's when he starts wondering, reflecting, missing you. Desire can't grow in constant closeness. It needs breath, space, tension. And silence is what creates that emotional oxygen. The reason so many women struggle with silence is because they fear losing control. They think, if I don't say something, he'll forget about me. But a high-value woman knows that anyone who forgets her in silence was never connected to her in the first place. She understands that silence isn't punishment. It's preservation. It's where clarity rises, where energy recalibrates, and where real dynamics reveal themselves. And space is sacred. When you step back, not to play games, but to protect your peace, you give a man the opportunity to step forward. You stop managing the energy of the relationship and let it unfold naturally. That's when you see who he really is, not the version you were carrying with your effort. The power of silence and space is that it allows you to stop doing and start receiving. It invites alignment. It lets desire breathe. And most importantly, it reminds you that your presence is powerful, even in your absence. That's when love becomes a choice, not a chance. Feminine energy isn't about looking pretty, playing dumb, or waiting around for someone to save you. It's not a performance. It's a presence. And when it's activated, it's undeniable. Feminine energy in action is soft, but strong. It's the kind of calm that turns heads without saying a word. It doesn't push, chase, or control. It attracts. You know you're in your feminine energy when you no longer feel the need to lead every moment or fill every silence. You allow things to come to you without guilt. You let a man take the initiative, not because you're powerless, but because you're powerful enough to receive. Feminine energy says, I trust myself so deeply that I don't need to force a thing. It shows up in how you speak, with warmth, emotion, and intention. It shows up in how you hold eye contact, how you listen fully instead of waiting to respond. It shows up in your ability to stay connected to your body, to your sensuality, your breath, your emotions. Even when things feel uncertain, this energy doesn't live in logic. It lives in your presence, in your being, not your doing. When a woman leads with her feminine energy, it invites a man to step into his healthy masculine. He wants to protect, pursue, and provide, not because she demands it, but because her energy inspires it. Feels good for him to give when he knows it will be received with grace, not questioned or micromanaged. And the magic is, it's not about being perfect. It's about being open. Open to receiving, to feeling, to letting go of control. That openness is magnetic. It's rare, and in a world that constantly pressures women to hustle, prove, and push, a woman who simply is becomes unforgettable. This is why doing less works. Not because it's passive, but because it gives your feminine energy room to speak for you. When you lean back, relax your nervous system, and trust your worth, you stop chasing love, and you start embodying the kind of energy that makes love chase you. Magnetism isn't about being the loudest in the room, the most physically attractive, or the one doing the most. True magnetism comes from energy, and it's often quiet, subtle, and completely unforced. A truly magnetic woman doesn't try to capture attention. She draws it in without even needing to ask. People feel her before they even fully see her. But what creates that feeling? It's self-possession. A magnetic woman knows who she is, and more importantly, she's at peace with who she is. She walks into a room with the energy of someone who doesn't need to be chosen, because she already chooses herself. There's no desperation in her energy, no chasing, no over-explaining, just calm, soft certainty. She knows her worth without needing to prove it. And that alone changes how people respond to her. She becomes a mirror, reflecting back to others how they feel about themselves in her presence. That's why some people are captivated by her, while others are intimidated. Her energy doesn't beg, it invites, and that invitation is powerful because it feels rare. What makes her so magnetic isn't perfection. It's her ability to own her emotions, to express without fear, to sit with silence without shrinking. She doesn't perform. She doesn't overshare to gain approval. She lets people come closer by revealing just enough, keeping some mystery alive. She makes space for others, but never at the expense of herself. There's a softness to her, but also a firmness in her boundaries. You can feel both her warmth and her standard. She can lean into connection while still knowing when to pull back. This duality, the open heart and the strong spine, is what captivates. And when it comes to men, this kind of energy is irresistible. Not because she's doing more to please them, but because she's so deeply anchored in herself that they feel more grounded just by being around her. That's what makes her unforgettable. True magnetism is not something you create. It's something you uncover by removing the layers of over-effort, fear, and self-doubt. When you come back to who you truly are, that's when the world leans in. When it comes to relationships, many women unknowingly make mistakes that push men away, even when their intentions are good. The biggest trap, confusing trying harder with being more lovable. Trying harder often looks like over-texting, chasing, or constantly seeking reassurance. It's easy to think that if you just do enough, he'll stay. But the truth is, these behaviors often create pressure instead of connection. One common mistake is overwhelming a man with attention before he's ready to fully receive it. When you bombard him with calls, texts, or invitations, you might feel like you're showing care, but to him, it can feel like suffocation. Men need emotional space to process their feelings and desires. When they don't get it, they often pull away, not because they don't care, but because they feel overwhelmed. Another mistake is losing yourself in the relationship. Giving up your hobbies, your opinions, or your social life to be available can backfire. When you lose your own identity, you lose your magnetic energy. Men are drawn to women who have their own lives and passions, not those who become overly dependent or overly available. Over-explaining and justifying your actions is another way to push men away. If you find yourself constantly explaining why you didn't text back sooner or apologizing for small things, it signals insecurity. Instead of drawing him closer, it makes you seem unsure, which can create doubt in his mind. Trying to control his feelings or decisions is a huge red flag. Wanting to change a man or push him to commit before he's ready only triggers resistance. Men often respond by pulling away because they feel their autonomy is threatened. Finally, forgetting your own boundaries in hopes of keeping him interested is a common pitfall. Saying yes to everything, tolerating disrespect, or ignoring your gut feelings to avoid conflict only damages your self-worth and weakens the relationship dynamic. The good news, awareness is the first step to change. When you stop over-functioning and start honoring your value, men are naturally drawn to your confidence. Relationships thrive when both people feel safe, respected, and free, not controlled or pressured. Avoid these mistakes by trusting yourself and allowing love to grow with ease, not effort. The lean-back strategy isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating feelings. It's about reclaiming your power by stepping out of the chase and stepping into your worth. When you lean back, you're not withdrawing out of fear or frustration. You're creating healthy space that allows the relationship to breathe and grow naturally. It's a powerful act of self-respect that says, I trust the process and I trust myself. Most women fall into the trap of leaning forward, constantly initiating, texting first, making plans, and doing all the emotional labor. It's exhausting, and ironically, it often pushes the very men they want away. Leaning back flips this dynamic. It invites him to take the lead, to step up, and to show you who he really is without you having to force it. The magic of leaning back is in the contrast. When you stop chasing and trying so hard, your energy shifts from anxious to calm, from needy to confident. This change is magnetic. It taps into something primal in men, the desire to pursue, to earn, and to provide. But this can only happen when you give him the space to do so. Leaning back doesn't mean going silent or ignoring him entirely. It means engaging from a place of choice, not need. You might slow down your replies, be less available, or stop over-explaining. But at the core, you're still present, just without the emotional over-investment that drains your energy. This strategy also protects your peace. It keeps you centered in your life and your goals rather than revolving your world around his actions. When you lean back, you're saying yes to yourself first. And that self-prioritization naturally attracts the kind of love that's balanced and respectful. The lean-back approach isn't a game. It's a mindset shift that requires trust and patience. Trust that you are enough as you are. Patience to let things unfold naturally. And confidence that the right man will rise to meet you without you having to bend over backward. When you master the lean-back, you stop chasing love and start allowing it. And that's where true connection begins. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to reset how you think about love, effort, and your own value. So often, we fall into patterns that make us feel like we have to earn love through doing more, giving more, or proving ourselves endlessly. But the truth is, love doesn't work that way. Real love is never transactional. It's not about who tries hardest or sacrifices most. It's about alignment, a meeting of energies, where both people feel seen, valued, and free. This mindset reset is about letting go of the exhausting hustle for approval and stepping into a place of deep trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your worth, and trust that love will come when it's meant to. It's about shifting from scarcity thinking, where you worry you're not enough, to abundance thinking, where you know you are more than enough just as you are. When you do less, you don't lose, you gain. You gain peace, you gain clarity, you gain a sense of power that can't be shaken by someone else's actions or feelings, because your worth isn't tied to how much you give, it's tied to who you are. Remember, the most magnetic people aren't those who chase or control. They're those who embody confidence and calm, who respect themselves enough to walk away from anything that doesn't serve them, and who allow love to come naturally rather than forcing it. That's the essence of feminine energy and the heart of magnetic attraction. So as you move forward, practice patience with yourself. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each time you choose to lean back instead of lean in, each time you honor your boundaries instead of compromising them, you're rewiring your relationship patterns for the better. You're learning that doing less isn't laziness, it's wisdom. It's knowing that love flows best when it's free, not forced. And that when you respect your own energy, you invite others to do the same. Trust yourself, trust the process, and most importantly, trust that the love you desire will come to you effortlessly, when you're ready to receive it fully. You are worthy, you are magnetic, and your power lies in being authentically you.